Hello and welcome to today's climate change workshop. And today I have with me two panelists who would be joining us live here. And also we have our facilitator today who will be facilitating this workshop, who's going to be talking to us about climate change and waste management in particular, food waste management. But before I bring on our facilitator, let me introduce our first panelist, who is Sodi Ojewi, an actor, community advocate as well. Hello, Sodi, how you doing?
Hello, Lumide. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. And we also have Buki. Buki, how you doing?
Hi everyone.
Great. Okay, so without wasting too much time, we would be talking about food waste management, and we have a great person who's going to walk us through what food waste management is all about, and also give us shed some light on waste management. And she is a research student in the Glasgow Caledonian University, and she specializes in waste and environmental management. She's a student member of CIWM. CIWM is the Chartered Institute of Waste Management and a STEM ambassador. She's passionate about community engagement, and that is why she's giving us her time and her knowledge and experience, and has been involved in several volunteering projects with the DME community. Her current research project is on food waste management. So, everybody, please help me welcome Grace Iyoha to our midst.
Hi everyone. It's nice and lovely to
Hi
meet you
Grace.
all. Thank you, Olumide, for the opportunity for hosting this class. I think it's something that is very relevant and present with the times that we're in. And then I believe that with the knowledge we'll get, it will be something that will be very useful and practical. Hi, Sodi, and hi, Buki. It's nice to meet you all.
Hi
Right.
Grace.
And hi,
Thank you very
everyone who is watching watching live.
Okay, thank you very much for at least giving us your time and willing to share your knowledge. I know it's not very easy, especially you're very busy at this time. You're doing your PhD, I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very important person in the community. But before we go on, let's just quickly, because I think some people are saying hello to you online. So Patience Nokoma is saying hello.
Hi, Patience.
Raphael says good evening. And yeah, we're just trying to show some greetings from Facebook. Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, so I think, okay, there's more greetings still coming in. Please don't forget to share this video so that more people will get to see and benefit from the community so that they get to know what and how to manage food waste, so how to manage their food waste. So, Grace, do you
Yeah.
want to fire on?
Okay. If you can help me share the slides, please.
Okay, we'll start with the slide. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good.
All right. So, hi everyone. My name is Grace, like has been introduced, and today's topic will be food waste management at home. I know that we all eat food, we all love food, so we're just going to be, understanding what food waste management is and how it can be practical and very relevant for us. Right. So, our outline for today, we're just going to be first of all, this series is about climate change. So we want to understand what climate change is and then also understand how it relates to food waste and food waste management. We also want to see the types of food waste. We want to also know how food waste is managed in the UK. And I know we have a wider audience, so we'll be dealing with other people outside of the UK as well. So we'll talk about food waste management generally before we will specify on UK because that's where we are. Right. So, Mr. Lumide, you're my right hand man. Please help me with the slides. All right, thank you. So yeah, this is the outline. So talk about climate change, food waste management, what is food waste, and the types, the causes of food waste, why should we reduce food waste, and how to manage food waste at home. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. Next slide, please. Okay, I know that yes, my screen is kind of like expo, but to the panelists, I know you've kind of understood what climate change is with the previous talk that was held. So if you can just give me an overview of what you understood by climate change or what you took away from the previous session.
Yeah, from my understanding of what climate change is, I think climate change is all about how our environment, how the earth is responding to the activities, to human activities, and how different things is evolving around the planet.
Good, very good. Buki,
But
effects of
for
climate.
me, climate change is really about the long term effects and change in your weather patterns. We're not just looking ahead, maybe a couple of months' time. We're talking about years and years in advance. What our minute actions right now have on the long term weather patterns.
Good, thank you very much. Sodi, if
So
you can
let's
just
see. Okay, I think Sodi, I think we lost
okay, it's
him
not
there,
here.
probably technical. Please, if you're watching us live, let us know in your comments below what climate change is. Let us know what you feel, what's your own understanding of climate change. And I understand that, because we're live and, technical issues, um, it might take a bit of time for the comments to come in, but as you type your comments, we'll put them up. So just let us know in your own words what climate change is. Sodi is back in. Sodi, Grace just asked us what's in our own definition what we understand by climate change. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but we're trying to see if you were listening in the last workshop.
Oh, at memory, uh, the long change, the yeah, the long time atmospheric change. I think climate change as it could take up to 30 years and above, as far as I can remember.
Thank you very much. So yeah, they've said it all. Climate change just refers to the shift, the long-term shift or change in temperature and in weather patterns, and that's just as simple as it is. And you realize that over time, I mean, climate change is natural because there's always increase in the temperature naturally, but human activities has accelerated the effects of climate change where from the industrial revolution we had like a lot of developments, constructions going on, industries burning of fossil fuels just to increase development, right? So but that has over time accumulated to result to what we call climate change. And it's manifest in different ways depending on what location you're in. You can feel the effect of climate change differently. And right now, the Earth is 1.1 degrees degrees Celsius warmer than it was in the 1800s, and that was when the trajectory of human activities really increased. And I mean, what the world is, because right now the world is at attention. They're like, hey, if we continue on this trajectory, if we increase more than 1.5, we would actually see worse effects of climate change than what we are just seeing now. So they are trying to cap it just to 1.5. But the rate at which we are going in the next, by the end of the century, we might reach 3.3. So it calls for immediate action. Who knows? Can we give examples of effects of climate change that we can see now?
Okay, sorry to cut you. I think one person answered from the audience says, to me, climate change is a reaction of nature to our daily activities.
Right. Thank you very much. Yes, our daily activities like we we drive cars and we're using gas, and we cook food. We our agriculture, we're clearing forests, we are producing waste and sending in landfills. Our daily human activity releases greenhouse gases. So these greenhouse gases are what causes climate change, such that the gases are released in the atmosphere, but they don't pass the Earth's surface like they're supposed to. So they form like a blanket around the Earth, making the Earth warm. So imagine somebody a blanket over you, you start feeling warm very quickly. So that's what the greenhouse gases do. So gases like methane, carbon dioxide. So that's what the simple version of what climate change means. Examples of effects that we see. How do we know that climate change is happening? What are we seeing today? Buki, can you help?
Well, there's more flooding around the world,
Yeah,
for per se. That's something that is actually affecting a lot of people that we can relate directly to. More
yeah,
flooding, and we know that the glacier ice caps are melting a lot more than they would have done previously. I don't have a figure in my head, but glacier ice caps melting mean that there's more water to go around the world, more
yeah,
flooding. The summers are getting hotter for us here anyway. Some of the hotter countries around the world are feeling it a whole lot more than we will be in the UK. So these
yeah.
are like direct impacts that we are seeing.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, do any idea of how we are experiencing climate change?
Uh, Buki has stated most of the obvious, which the constant increase in temperature,
Yeah,
um, and especially in hotter countries, and then obviously the of the ice as well. I think I've heard the news about polar bears actually struggling
yeah,
to live. Obviously, their habitat destroyed, and then the rising of the sudden rise of water body would also
yeah.
cause. So
Thank you very much. Yeah, those are perfect
it's saying
examples. We have. Okay, sorry, there was a break. I couldn't hear you. I didn't know you had not finished. Thank you very much, Sodi. So yes, we have flooding. We have drought. Some places are experiencing water scarcity. So like in Africa, the some places don't have water, or where there used to be water before, the waters are now drying up. It's affecting. There are some storms, very terrible storms. Like the UK was hit with storms back to back, and those are effects of climate change. Right. So the next we're going to be talking about is food waste.
Okay,
So
okay. Let me just quickly, because I think when you ask the question, some people as well online, the audience, they brought in their own suggestions. So Alake Johnson says effect of climate change. I shall know that heat full everywhere in this country. Okay, to my understanding, climate change is okay. That was I think this is a definition. Effect
yeah,
of climate change. Effect of climate change currently is intense heat. That's patience Nakoma. It, intense heat effect could also be storm, which you said earlier on, and I think okay, yeah, that seems to be it. So you want me to move on to the next slide, or
yeah.
you ask the question? Sorry, you were about to ask a question.
Um, I mean, okay, food waste. Right. So why are we talking about food waste? How do you think food waste connects to this topic? Food waste, climate change. Any ideas?
I think that any form of waste contributes to climate change because how we dispose of this waste matters, where we put it and how we manage it matters a lot. So I feel any waste contributes to climate change, and because human beings we eat, it's one of the activities we do no matter what. So I'm believing that food waste is also a huge the percentage of food waste would be high among all other kind of waste products or waste materials.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll just move on to the next slide. Right. So food waste is a global problem. It's something that it's not just unique to one particular location. And what's the right, just simply defining food waste is any food, both food that's edible or inedible, that is removed from the food supply chain to be recovered or disposed. So, in simple English, um, we know that there's a food supply chain where food is produced in the farm, it is harvested, then it's taken for processing, and it is distributed, it's taken to the market or to the supermarket, so wholesale or retail, and then it is either taken to maybe like restaurants, or it is bought by households and then it's consumed. So it's kind of like a field to fork, so a fork that you used to eat. So from the field down to the fork. So that's what we call the food chain. So food waste occurs at every stage of this food chain. But for this class, we're going to be focusing on the later end, the last end, so households. And we're just going to be looking at how, and one of the reasons why we're looking at food at households is because in developed countries like the UK, households are the most um, generators of food waste. And statistics show that one third of every food produced. So think about food that is produced all through the year, one third of it is wasted. That's actually a large amount. So imagine the dimension of China, right? So if you look at that graph, you can see the size of China. Larger than that size is the amount of food waste that is generated every year. In the UK alone, I think it's about 940 billion food loss. That wait, sorry, let me get it right. So 940 um billion is wasted on food. That's how much money is spent. So based on what's the word now? So based on at different stages, not only household right now. So this is like the whole lifespan of food waste. And we have greenhouse gases that is generated as a result of the food waste. And just imagine six aviation, so the aviation industry, like 6 times how much they produce in terms of releasing greenhouse gases. That's how much food waste is generated, and it's actually a massive, significant figure, such that in the midst of this food wastage, there are some parts of the world where people don't even, they cannot even guarantee 3 square meals. I'm sure a lot of us know different parts of the world that has this situation. So that calls for, it shows that this is a serious matter that needs to be looked at or needs to be handled. So we're just going to be understanding how food waste relates to climate change, and then the types and how we can manage food waste. Next slide, please. Yes, so the comment says food waste contributes a lot to climate change. The bottled water and other plastics take a longer period of time to decay. In fact, thank you very much, Raphael, because in this slide, I didn't even touch the packaging of food, right? So food package, aside from food waste, the packaging that we use to make our food very presentable is another class of waste that is connected to food. So that's something that is really, really significant. And well, we're just going to be focusing only on the food aspect and understanding how it affects climate change. Can we get the next slide, please?
Okay, we have another person. Food waste or food loss is simply food that is not eaten either during production, distribution, processing. I just want to quickly flash in. I think this was a question way back, but let's
Okay.
just quickly show that. And thank you everyone that is commenting and contributing to this. Really appreciate it. Please
Thank you.
share this video, like it, and also so that more people can get to see it and learn from it. Ahmed Adio, that name sounds very familiar. Are you the broadcaster? Is this the broadcaster? Ahmed Adio, the sports broadcaster. We might have a shorter day and longer night for a particular period of time, and it changes for a period of time. I think that he's responding to the definition of climate change. Same
So just
person, climate change.
Olumide,
Yep.
just one more thing to add to your comment about the amount of waste, just to put it in a bit more perspective for us as well. Looking at like carbon footprints that our food waste generates, if you look at the carbon footprint for America and then China, they're the top two. Food waste, if food waste was a country, food waste would be the third in that list. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, very true.
Mm.
So someone says food waste refers to food appropriate for human consumption being discarded, yeah, whether or not kept it beyond. Okay, so let's move on with the slides, right, Grace?
Yes,
Do you have
thank
any
you.
question before I move to the next one?
No, don't worry. The next slide is right. So, um, I think one thing I will mention, somebody said something about longer days and shorter nights. I think that is standard. It has nothing to do with climate change. It's just like how the sun will rise and then set. Longer days and shorter nights are part of like the rotation of the earth. So it has nothing to do with climate change.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right, because the first workshop, Ebi also explained that the climate change is not necessarily weather changes. It's not the change in weather pattern. So we need to understand the difference between climate change and then okay, yep.
Okay. Right. So climate change and food waste, how do they relate? So we've been talking about it before now, but just looking at this picture, we have people working in a farm land, and then if you think about the agricultural process in itself, it is very intensive. So the digging, the tilling, the tractors working, you're using fertilizers, then you harvest it and then you transport it. Buki mentioned something about carbon footprint. So the entire process of producing food, aside from the planting, also like rearing of animals, it is very energy intensive. They use water, they're using fossil fuels in transportation and stuff. So imagine after producing this kind of food, releasing all these what's it called now, emissions, and then the food gets to your table and you waste it. So it means that all those processes that went through to produce that particular food was in vain. So that's kind of an idea of what it takes when we have like a plate of food and we throw it away. It's not just what is on our plates that we're throwing away, we're throwing away the hard work that has gone behind and the energy and the resources, the time that has been that's put inside producing that food. Next slide, please. Right. So climate change and food waste. Food waste is accountable for 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And like I said, it's 6 times more than the aviation industry. Um, Food waste decomposed in landfills increase the generation of methane during decomposition. Right. So when we throw away our food, because food is easily biodegradable, it's easily broken down. So what happens is that it breaks down and releases methane. So if you know how methane is a very strong gas and it smells. So if you're in maybe like your kitchen and then you have food in the bin for a long time, that kind of that pungent odor, that's methane gas being released because it's decomposing. So that's what breaks down and gets into the atmosphere and covers the earth like a blanket. Methane gas, it comes from food waste. And we also know that I talked about food security, where food production right now is there's so much challenges going through food production in the sense that we know that COVID just happened, and during COVID there were situations about food supply where supply chain, because the supply chain is very international, especially in the UK. We receive food from maybe like Africa, from like Mexico, different parts of the world. So they couldn't really ship because a lot of countries were in lockdown. Now we're just getting out of it, and now we have the Ukraine war, where Ukraine they produce a lot of well, Ukraine and Russia, they produce a lot of so Ukraine, we get like cooking oil from Ukraine. We get like a lot of food. So because of the war, they're not able to produce, and it's affecting food prices. So that's why we are noticing the inflation very, very high because of these disruptions. And then food security, the world is increasing, the human population is increasing. So we need more food, and they're producing more, but there's still some people that don't have access to food. So climate change already affects food production, because if there are storms, imagine a storm will just sweep a farmland, and then all of a sudden they don't have their produce again. Flooding is affecting farms. Maybe people who used to have rainfall before, now they're having lesser rainfall. So climate change is directly linked with food production, and food waste affects the entire chain. Next slide.
Okay.
Okay.
I think one of the things you said in the previous slide, I think
Yeah.
this one, yeah. So this
Yeah.
person is saying food loss and food that is not eaten. The causes of food waste or loss are numerous and occur throughout the food system during
Yeah.
production, processing, distribution. So this, I'm just trying to link it to what you said, that when you waste food, you're wasting the energy that people have put in the farm, you're wasting the energy that people have used to transport the food and all that. And then I think somebody, Eretio Falashade, also says causes of food waste are bad weather, overproduction. I'm sure we're going to get to that at some point, won't we? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
right.
next
So,
one.
okay, I was going to ask why should we reduce food waste at home, but
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, I mean, this should be easy given what I've said so far. So, if you can just give like 1 points each of why we think so far we should reduce food waste at home. Bookie.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Bookie?
So,
Yes.
what was our question? There was a
Why should we
break there.
reduce? Why should we reduce food waste at home?
It's important for us to reduce food waste at home because there are so many other facilities for us to be able to ensure that this excess food goes to where it's actually needed. Because I think you said, is it 1/3 is food waste? So
Yes.
the way I think about it logically in my head is I'm picking up three things from the shelf. Do I really need that third one?
Mm.
And in a lot of supermarkets now, when we're shopping, you'll find that at your exit, there's always a basket for a food bank. Can you put that third item in that tray so it doesn't go in your bin at the end of the week? Because a lot of us maybe can afford the luxury of 3 square meals a day, but like you said earlier, there are going to be countries where we know that people aren't getting 3 square meals a day. Some struggle to get one set meal a day. There's a lot of other things that we can be doing to reduce the waste that we're generating at home.
Thank you very much. Olumide, do you want to go first?
Okay, to me, I feel one of the reasons we should try and reduce food waste is for economical reasons. Because at the end of the day, when you're wasting food, you're throwing is almost as if you're throwing money away. And also, the main reason why we're going through this workshop to also save the planet, to try and reduce the effects of climate change. For me, I think those 2 points are at least why we should first of all try and reduce our food waste.
Thank you very much. So yeah, next slide, please.
Okay.
So yeah, every reason that you mentioned is there. Ethical reasons. Like you said, you don't want to be wasting food when somebody else doesn't have access to food. And right now there is food insecurity. So that's one of the reasons why we should be thinking, don't waste food at home. The prices of food are increasing as well. And like Olumide says, wasted food costs household money. So everybody's trying to cut down on their expenses and looking for how to get the best deals and save money. If you think, okay, I only buy what I need, then you'll be able to save money. And the study shows that the average UK family, of maybe like a family of four or five, they spend or they lose about £450 to £700 yearly on wasted food. So that's money that could have been saved and put into other things. And then we also know that climate change impacts food production. So we don't want to be wasting food, which will ultimately affect climate change. And like I mentioned, a significant amount of energy, resources like water, land, fertilizer goes into production of food. And once we waste food, it means that all these resources have been used in vain. So that's the reason why we shouldn't waste food. Okay, so we're going to move next to food waste types. Um, Next slide. All right, so this is just a simple chart of, I asked what is food waste, and then I got different people said food waste is food that can be eaten but is wasted or thrown away. I think somebody else said foods also that cannot be eaten. Yeah. So in the food waste chart, so we have avoidable, possibly avoidable, and unavoidable. So avoidable foods are just like we've said, edible food that goes to waste, and it can be different reasons. So it might be that it reached its expiry date, or it's got spoiled, or also due to like maybe cooking methods. Maybe some people, the way they cook food, they burn the pot, and maybe like half of it is bad, and then they throw it away. Or some people just don't finish their plates, like they just have to throw some. So that's avoidable food waste, because it was food that was good, but is wasted. Now, possibly avoidable is kind of in between, such that some is cultural as well. So some parts of the world, they eat things like maybe fish head or chicken head, or they eat like, maybe some people eat bread. Maybe they eat the whole bread. Some people, they break out the sides. So it's based on preference. So some people eat some things, some other people don't eat some things. So that's where it's possibly avoidable. Unavoidable are things like eggshells, bones, peels, tea bags. Those are still food waste. It's just that it's unavoidable. You have to waste it. Like there's nothing you can do about it. So these are the different categories of food waste that we can find in a household. Next slide. Okay, so this was going to be a question, but yeah, we didn't get the slide right. So top 10 foods that are easily wasted. So we have grapes, we have milk, especially in this part of the world where we get like milk in the jugs, and then when you go to the store, you see you buy two for one, and then maybe you're just like a single person like me living in your house, and you buy two for one, and next thing is expired, and you're like, okay, this is going to the bin. So milk, potatoes, bread, tomatoes, apples, meat, fish, yogurt, sausages. These are examples of top 10 foods that are wasted in the UK. And we can see this the slide, the graphic there. 7 million slices of bread are thrown out daily. That's the cause for concern. And around 4.4 million apples are being each day. That's a whole lot of apples that are being, and these are apples that have been bought with money, or probably gotten from a food bank, or however we sourced it. And this is just graphic to show you the impact of wasting food. Okay, so we're just going to be moving on to the next slide, just to understand what are the causes of household food waste. Okay, don't go yet. I think we can ask this question. So, both to the both to the audience and those of us here, why do you think food waste at home? Why do you think so?
Okay, I think some people are still answering some questions
Okay,
about, because obviously because they're joining online. I think the answers might be coming in a bit
okay,
slower. So I'll
that's fine.
just flash up one or two things. I think this should be under the avoidable points. Shouldn't it?
Yes, so to reduce food waste at home, I feel that home should know the amount of food they can consume. That's perfect. That's like a very good tip. Um, yes.
I think this one is also, why should we manage food waste? To conserve.
Uh, Resources to reduce greenhouse gases. Yes. Thank you very much.
And then
5 ways to reduce food waste at home while practicing social distancing. Plan your meals. This person, she's just stealing my slide. Instead of buying whatever is left on the shelf, try to buy only what you eat. Eat what you buy. Thank you very much, Linda.
Okay, for us to move ahead, I hope all UK people are actually people living in the West. I hope that they are watching this. So I'll
Hope
flash
so.
up this. I'll flash up this comment.
Okay. Food
Oh, not this
wastage
one, not
is
this one, not this
bad
one. I missed
behavior.
it. It's this. Yeah.
It's like these UK people need flog, you know.
We don't
We
For,
need
flog
to be
here.
flogged.
Sorry.
When they say
okay,
evidence
and
of
then
food wasting. So we are
Amida
living
Dio.
well and wasting well. Food wastage is a bad behavior that every household should always try to avoid. Yes, it applies to me, it applies to those of us on the panel, and
Mm.
everyone watching this video or who will watch it. Is really a bad behavior. It's ethical reason. So you can't go out there and say, oh, I wasted my food. Yes, like everybody will look at you like, are you sure you're okay? So it's not something that is what's the word? Societally acceptable. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Next one, right?
Yes, next one. I mean, I was going to ask a question.
You
Yes,
ask. Yeah, ask the question. Yeah, ask your question.
causes of household food waste. Why do you think um, we waste food? Why? What causes it?
I was actually gonna say lack of meal planning. So she stole my thunder as well.
Yeah.
I think it's
So
down to
who was that that
lack
stole
of
the? Who was that that
yeah,
stole the? That said
lack of
everything
meal
we're going to
plan.
say.
Linda.
Yeah,
Linda. I want to
Linda,
bring it. I
but
want to try and look
very
for
good
the.
answer
Was it
though.
Linda? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good answer. Lack of meal planning, because a lot of the times, most of us will go to the shops because we want to do our weekly shop, right? Do we have a list of what we need to buy, or do we just sort of like walk all the aisles and just say, oh, there's buy one get one free for those apples. I'll have 12 instead of six. There's buy one get one free for milk. Like you said, we'll
Yeah.
take three bottles instead of the one that we actually need. But one other thing that we can actually be doing with milk is if you buy it from the shop on that day, you could actually freeze your milk and use it later. You can freeze your bread and use it later so that by the end of the week, that big giant bag of bread that you've bought that you know you're not going to eat, you can put half in the freezer on the day that you've bought it so that it can do you another week. Just simple changes that we can make to our lifestyle can
Yeah.
reduce the amount of waste that we're generating at home.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bookie. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was very freezing. So we can still go ahead and do buy three for two and just freeze it.
I said you can freeze. That's an option,
Yeah,
so
I
it
said
doesn't go
freeze.
to
Yeah,
the bin.
freeze. Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you only need one, just take one. Don't buy three because they're on offer.
Exactly.
And you can save money that way as well. Because if you buy
Exactly.
three might be £3.50. If you buy one might be £1.25. You're
Yeah.
saving money. You're not spending too much, and you're not wasting at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Exactly, just what this person says. Raphael just said, reduce food waste leads to more savings at home. Thank you very
Yes.
much, Raphael. So next slide, right?
Yes. Next slide. So yes, lack of planning for shopping and also food meal preparation, right? So as you're shopping and saying, "Oh, I want this, I want that," are you making a point of note? When am I going to actually cook this? Am I cooking it
Mm-hmm.
this evening, tomorrow, next week, upper week, or never?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people just buy things that they aspire to cook, but they
Yeah.
never cook with it. So we need to plan for our shopping, our meal preparation. Cheap food prices, like we said, there are entices for market discounts or promos, which encourage you to bulk buy. But in it's cheap, usually better in the sense that okay, yes, you want to buy multiple. Like I had to learn a lesson because I live by myself. If you have a larger household, sometimes and then you know you could eat a particular meal maybe like very quick frequently, you can bulk buy. Maybe like I can't be buying two breads when I know it's just me. I can't even finish one loaf in a week. So I have to now understand that there's like a science to this. You need to calculate that you're not trying to be saving money. On the other hand, you're losing money because you're buying and
Mm-hmm.
wasting. And one very good one is confusion in labeling. So we're going to deal with this one now. So use by dates, display by dates, best before, sell by. What do you understand by it, and how do you think this influences food waste? What's best before? What does best before date mean? What does it mean?
I think
Um,
so. So something
Go
like
ahead.
bread. Sorry, go on. Go on.
Okay.
Was Buki going to say
Bookie.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll
Bookie.
you finish what you were saying, and then I'll jump in.
Okay, I think something like bread, when they put best before, I think it just means number one, we need to first of all understand that these are also marketing strategies, because these producers, they have to first of all think about themselves, and then some of them are more uh, some of them are adopting the climate change strategy more than others. But the bottom line is these are marketing words, marketing strategies for them. So when they say best before, I mean, yeah, best before, it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad after that date. I think they're just trying to say you get the best value or the best taste. Or again, it could also be a legal term. It could be that they're trying to protect themselves in a legal way, because when maybe they say best before in the next 3 days, and then after that day you don't feel that same freshness or juiciness from it, and then you complain, they'll be like, oh, we already wrote best before. So but best before doesn't necessarily mean after that day that it's bad or something. But I think the one that clearly states expiry dates, I think maybe that, especially with pharmaceutical products, and yeah, I think those ones. But these are just dates displayed by, also I think that one is also the times you should shelve it, because that's when you go to some supermarkets, you see that they take off some things from the shelf, and then they now reduce the prices. And it doesn't mean it's spoiled as well. It doesn't, I don't think it means it's gone bad. But that's just, that's my own understanding of it.
Okay. Bookie, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I kind of go along those lines as well. For me, the dates would strict dates for me would be on dairy products, because when your dairy goes off, it's off. And correct me if I'm wrong, there's been like some talk about certain shops using a smell test to decide when food's gonna be binned. And
Yeah.
also there's some food from supermarkets that get binned, and people graze the bins to take these foods,
Yeah.
and some of this food goes to food banks. So if they weren't edible or they shouldn't be eaten at all, they wouldn't be going to the food banks. So we
Yeah.
can still extend the life of some of the foods we're actually throwing in the bin. So your bread, if it says used by, I don't know, the 19th of May, and today's the 19th of May, if that bread's in the fridge, it's still, you can extend the life of that bread. That's if you didn't freeze it, like I told you in the beginning. You can extend the life and use it for longer. So that can help us to reduce food waste. But the dates are confusing,
Yeah.
and it will be a guide for supermarkets, because if you didn't have rules, things would just go a bit crazy food wise, and you'll have all sorts of lawsuits everywhere. I guess that's kind of what the
Yeah.
dates are for, really.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just my experience when I came here from Nigeria and I was shopping and then I saw onions like best before. I'm like, who puts best before on onions? Like there's some
Exactly, yeah.
like spaghetti. There's some things that actually like grains, except it's visible like deteriorating molds or weevils. Like those are dry products. Best before on granite oil. I'm like, so I feel like they put this like Olumide said to kind of protect themselves and as a guide for turnover because they don't want to have longer dates and then people they want people to keep buying. So if like bread, it has shorter shelf life. It means the ones after that date you come back again to buy more bread. And so yes, you can still use your food past the date. It's just that there's a difference between food quality and food safety. So it's safe to eat. It's just in terms of quality, like Olumide said, it might not have maybe like some food might not have like that crispy, maybe like the salad. It's not as crispy as it was on the date, the best before date or use by date. But these are just different terms just to help the supermarkets. All right. So next, we have poor storage Sometimes when we put our food in the fridge, maybe we don't seal it properly, or we abandon it there, or sometimes also the food temperature, you're not sure whether it's working well, it can affect your food. Negligence, some people just waste food because I mean, they can't really care less, or maybe they don't really know what is involved to get that food produced. And we've actually named a lot of the examples. So, except we have examples in the comments, we'll just move on to the next slide.
And Grace, can I just add one
Yeah,
thing to what you just
yeah.
said? In terms of like our food storage, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of our African foods that we make, maybe you've made
Yeah.
stew for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us put them in the freezer or put them in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
That can also have an impact on your food waste. Sometimes the food's not fully cooled down
Yeah.
and you store it. So you're making your refrigerator work harder. That also, it's working harder, you're generating more heat.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's very true. Especially if you maybe like cook in bulk and you put it in the bowl and it's not yet cool, and you put it in the
Yeah,
fridge, because there's heat mixing with the cold, it becomes warm, and then
yeah,
every other thing is affected that's already in the
yeah.
fridge. Yes. So we're just going to be moving on to food waste management. Somebody says preparing different meals by a household. A meal is prepared by another member of that household. Makes another based on choice. It's called by food waste. Food waste. What I understand by that is that, oh, person A wants to eat indomie this morning, and person B wants bread and tea, and then two different food meals are being prepared, and maybe one person doesn't finish one, and then the other half is there, half and half, left over everywhere. Lack of visibility in the refrigerator. Yes, your refrigerator is packed full, and different things here and there. You can't really see what is there. What have I not? What have I not finished? All those different things. You can't
Mm-hmm.
see it. Things are wasting. Lack of meal planning, not knowing the amount of food that will satisfy everyone at home. Yes, some people don't know how to cook in bulk. Some people know how to cook small food. Some people, when they cook in bulk, it's like the whole pot is full, and yeah. So that's lack of meal planning. Thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, any question? Straight to the
No,
next.
yeah, yeah. Next slide. Right. Um, so food waste management. So this is like the hierarchy of how food is managed globally, right? So the first one at the top is the most preferred option. What it means is source reduction, basically reducing the volume of food waste generated. So from the top, so that's why we're doing this class. Also from the household, once we are able to reduce our food waste, that's the most preferred way of managing food waste. The next one is feed hungry people. So food banks, sharing food, the surplus food that you have. That's the next level. The third level is feed animals. And feed animals is great in some parts of the world, but in the UK, it's not really ideal in the sense that they had like an outbreak one of the times of foot and mouth disease. Well, I think some people were feeding food waste to pigs, and then since that outbreak, there's kind of regulations on feeding animals your food waste or your excess food. So, but the next one is industrial uses. So sometimes, let's say like maybe some fruits, if they are what's it called now? If it's not like ideal in the sense that, especially when you're shopping, you want to buy maybe like the perfect orange or the perfect mango. If it has like a distorted shape, people won't really want to buy it. So those kind of things, they send it to the industry to produce maybe like fruit juice or something like that. So that's um the category I'm describing. Now, composting is the level, that's where food the UK focuses on. So they collect this food and either compost it or send it to an anaerobic digester. And that's one way of producing food. That way you get nutrients from it. So you get compost, or if it's anaerobic digestion, you get energy. So you can actually get electricity to power the grid from food waste. And the last one is landfill or incineration, burning food waste. So that's like the least preferred option, but that's another option that people use to manage waste. And if you look at the next picture, you can see the bins. So if you see the two bins in the UK, different councils have different colors of bins. but they always give you like a food bin, a small bin, and then there's always a large bin that you can leave outside. And there are different things you can put there. You can put all your kitchen like waste, your peels, your vegetables, dairy, bread, tea bags, eggshells. So and then they also have specifications of what should not be put in that bin. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? Right. So, like I was explaining, in the UK, we have separate collection of food waste. So, what they expect you to do is that you should sort out your food waste. You shouldn't put your food waste in a general bin. There's like a smaller bin that they give you, just like the one in the picture, to put your food waste in it. And it's dependent on participation by households. So, some houses are very good at recycling their food waste or putting it in the bin, separating it. Some other people are not, and there are different reasons why we have that. The statistics says 1/3 of the general waste bin, so like your black bin bag contains food waste, which shouldn't be, because that black bin is carried straight to landfill, and once it gets to landfill, the food decomposes and is released and releases methane, and that's where we have climate change. Right. So one of the, I think Glasgow is not very great at food waste recycling. One of the reasons why is because a lot of the houses are high-rise flats, and the challenge with high-rise flats is because they are sharing a particular bin. It's just difficult for them. Once they give you this small bin, and then you are living in the maybe 19th floor, you can imagine when this is full, you come all the way down with that small thing to the general bin. And so the housing structure of Glasgow is not really ideal for food waste recycling. So in terms of ranking, in terms of local authorities, they are not doing great, but we need to do better. Okay, next slide. What happens to your food waste when it has been
Should I
when
bring
it
it
has
up?
been collected?
Are you asking question, or should I bring it
Yes,
up?
yes. So okay, no, that's fine. You can take it there. I'm not asking a question. Right. So, like I mentioned, the UK, we have two ways of recycling. It's either we take it to an anaerobic digester plant or invest to composting. So we all know, maybe like if you grew up back in Nigeria or Africa, or there's a way the farmers, like, they recycle their waste. So they put it out in the field, and then they cover it with maybe like leaves or grasses, and then they keep turning it and turning it, mixing it together. After a while, over time, microorganisms break this food waste down. So that's just the idea behind composting. So when they take it to composting plants, they it just goes under the natural process of composting, and then it produces manure. This manure can now be used. They sell it to farmers, they sell it to people who have gardens or plant flowers. So that's how you turn food waste into usable product, usable resources like compost. Okay, if we go to the next slide. So those are real examples of food waste, what's it called, a processing or recycling plants that we have. So the first one is an anaerobic digester. So what that does, you can see like those green domes, there's a cover. It breaks it down in the absence of air. So that's the difference. The other one is exposed to air. This other one is not exposed to air. Once the methane is released, they can capture it. So those domes, they connect pipes to it, and then it releases the gas that they can send to the electrical grid. So the good thing about anaerobic digester, not only will you get manure or compost, you can also get electricity from this one as A. Then the second one is B. Is, you can see from the food waste, that's the first slide, and then they kept processing it, turning it to that equipment, and now you can see that soil as clean as that was originally food waste. So that's just the technology in turning food waste into compost. And that's the reason why you should separate your food waste, because it can be given new value again instead of being decomposed in the landfills. All right. So
Wow,
next,
wow, that's good.
oh yeah, I'll pause here in case anybody has any comments or questions.
Yes, let your comments come in. Let your questions come in. Please share and engage with us. Okay. Somebody says in Nigeria, best before or most products means expired, especially on creams. I think they usually use the word expiry date
Yeah, they
rather
use
than
expiry dates.
yeah, rather than best
Oh,
before.
yeah, true.
So it gets reproduced. It's used as
Use the
manure.
manual.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So the next slide is practical tips on how to reduce food waste at home. We've already started talking about a lot of it. We've given suggestions. So this is just kind of to reinforce what we've said. So the first one is eating smaller portions of food. So I know we're dealing with right now the BME community, and one thing I can think of is that we love parties. So we love Owambe, we love to do buffet, and then we're just dishing food and serving people, and then
Food
it's
is part
dinner
of
time.
life. Food is living good.
Exactly. But the problem is that you serve somebody like a pile high of plate, they just eat like two spoons and that's it. It goes into the bin. So even in our gatherings, we should consider portioning. Ask people, what can you finish or what do you want to eat? That would help. I know you will say, oh, maybe it's rude or whatever, but we're trying to do better. So eating smaller portions of food at home in our events would help you to save food. And the next one is have creative use of your leftover food. So learn new recipes. I started learning. That's how I started doing smoothies because I'll buy fruits and then maybe I'm not eating it as fast enough. I will now decide, okay, I'll blend this and blend that and mix them together before it goes bad. Even if it starts going bad, once I blend it into a smoothie, it becomes like very tasty. So thinking of creative ways to use our leftover food is very great. Some people use banana that is almost very, very soft and ripe. They use it for banana bread. Some people even do plantain bread. So comment on the comment section if you have any ideas on how to reuse leftover food. Please suggest to us. We would be very grateful for that tip.
I've got a suggestion.
Okay.
So if you have a banana that is like overripe, or plantain, let's use plantain that's
Yeah.
overripe. We could
Mhm.
even try this for the guys that are watching us from outside of the UK. Overripe bananas and 2 spoons of flour, egg, mix it together, and you could make a waffle or do it like bean cakes. Just pan fry it. It tastes really
Wow.
good with a
Wow.
bit of salt and pepper.
Thank you very much. And any other suggestion, please help us out with ideas on how we can. And if you type it on the comment section, I'm sure it's something that people will be able to refer to over time as well. All right. So the next one
Yeah, and there
is
are some people that are also very knowledgeable within the audience watching us as well. So we
yeah,
want to know, we want to hear your own points, we want to learn from you.
yes,
I think yeah, Ahmed, he's giving us, I think he's giving a bit of number here, which
yeah,
you pointed out. So this would be, is this the number three? Or no, number two. This would be the number two on the list of trying to manage food wastage. That is
yeah.
given to, if you have more food, give it to somebody
Give
that
it.
doesn't have. Don't
Yes,
just
yes,
hoard it at home. Don't just think,
exactly.
and then throw it. Throwing into the bin should be the last option.
Option.
Try and
Yes,
look for the next person that
yes.
can, have what you've eaten.
Thank you.
Ireti, eat, eat or cook for that you can eat or finish at once. Yes, and this is coming as more of a commendation. I've lost it again. Okay, yeah, here it is. Well done to you, Olumide, Buki, and Grace. Very informative. I think the whole thank you, well done, should go to Grace and Buki
Thank you.
Thank you,
because they've been
Grace.
giving us tips. Thank you very much, Grace. Thank you so much, Buki.
Thank
Linda
you.
is here again. There are three types of food storage options. Linda, are
Linda,
you are you are
because
you are you an environmentalist? Are you a food? Is it, what do you call it? Food technician, food technologist? Are
I think
you?
Linda needs to be on our next panel.
Yeah,
I
Linda,
agree.
let us know what you are into. What's your background? We would like to know. Or are you just using Google to give us these answers? And if you're using Google, it's not a bad. I'm
It's
not
not.
saying anything. I'm just
It's not.
saying you're dropping some nuggets. So There are three types of food storage options. Dry storage refers to storing of items which don't require climate controlled environment. Refrigerated storage is defined as foods that require, okay, I think she timed out. Ruth, you are learning very helpful tips on how to reduce food waste. Thanks so much. This is informative. Thank you
That's
very
my
much.
sister.
Yeah, I guessed as much from the comment. I mean, from the name, from the surname. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got Ruth. Okay, we can. I think we can move on.
Okay.
And when they
Right.
come in, I'll flash it again.
Okay. So on storage, if you store our foods or leftovers in like proper containers, so airtight containers, and you put it in the fridge or cupboard, there's an acronym that says FIFO. So first in, first out. One of the tips that what I learned from one of my friends, Tosin, she said she labels her food. So like if she boils rice and she's packing it, so she will label the date that she put it in, so that it kind of gives her an idea when she made it, and then how she should eat it or how early she should eat it, so we can employ that. And another thing, so I'm just going to show you. So this is like a canned like tomato. So you see I have 7 and 2022, so that's telling me that that's the date that they said is my best before. So you can write it boldly and store it. You can label it with paper, sellotape, just to help you have an idea of what you have in your fridge. So check your fridge regularly to see if the temperature is optimal for your food. So you always want to see if it's still working, because sometimes some fridges looks like it's working, but it's not really working and things are going bad. So you always want to check your fridge. You want to check your fridge and cupboard to actually know what is there and what you need, because I mean, you don't want to be buying something that you already have and then it's creating waste. So you want to check also, is there anything that's going bad? Is there anything that you need to take out and warm? So you sometimes you can just forget that you all have something already, and then you shop and buy it extra. So always make a list when you want to shop. Plan your shopping. We've said it's plan your shopping. Don't just go and then be like, oh, this is nice. This is discounted. I'll buy it. I need to use it, but you won't use it. So buy only the things you need. It saves you money in the long run rather than buying in bulk. And if you want to buy in bulk, it has to be maybe things that don't have a very short shelf life. If it's a longer date that it can last, then you can buy it. And if you have a small household, just shop for your household. Don't buy a lot and it's more than what you need. Understand food labeling. We've talked about food labeling, what best before, use by, all those other dates. They're just showing in terms of food quality, and it's kind of like in manufacturing or a producing supermarket kind of rule or
Mm-hmm.
regulation. They use it to guide them. It doesn't mean that the food after that date is bad. You see some rice you buy, it has expiry dates. I mean, if you're using the rice, so you already know when the quality is deteriorating. So understand it, and then that will help us to be able to reduce our food waste. Next slide. If there's any comments that we want to share, we can share. Yeah, so share any surplus food with your friends and neighbors. Your local food bank is happy to take any donations. And some people use food banks. I have a food bank close to my house that sometimes I go there to visit. Don't take everything that they have there just because they are sharing and it's free food. No, only take the things that you eat. Sometimes you see some food and it's like, oh, as Africans, we don't eat it. We've never eaten it before. You won't try it. Don't take it, because it will end up going into the bin. So being conscious about what you're buying or what you're eating and the quantities will help us. Plan your meal preparations. Only use ingredients that you need, and the right cooking utensils as well, because some pots just burn your food before you finish the food. Half of what you're making burns it. If you invest in cooking utensils, yes, it might be expensive, but it will help save wasting food. That would be a good idea. Also, use the right bins provided by the council to dispose your food. So, if you have food waste and you have the food bin and it's working, they always regularly take it. Please use that bin, because, like we've seen, it will end up being what's it called, recycled into a useful resource. And then encourage kids. If you have young kids, and I know kids can waste food a lot, encourage them to learn how to plant. Kind of give them more knowledge on how food is produced. if they know this, they will learn to appreciate like the time and the resources put in growing food, and then they won't waste as much because they know, okay, this food, it takes a lot to actually bring it to our table as a plate. If they understand that journey, that would also help them as well. At this
Okay,
point,
I think,
yeah.
yeah. So there's a
No, I was just
comment
going
that
to say,
ties
yeah,
in
we
with
could
the
take
kid.
comments. Yes, we could
Yeah,
take
there's a
comments.
comment that ties in with the kid
Yeah.
from Olushola. She says, "Good job, learning helpful tips. I think we need to teach these tips to children gradually so they understand how their family functions."
Yeah.
Yes, that ties in well. Um, wow, I love this practical.
Thank
I
you,
love this
Raphael.
practical tips to reduce food waste at home
Thank you.
and buy food that you can consume, not what I've
You have
never
never
eaten
eaten,
or you
but you
like
like
the
the label.
label. That's packaging, that's marketing. Yeah, that's so true because it
Yeah.
has happened to me a few times. You just rush off, you see an advert or something, and then you just rush. Next time you see, you quickly buy. That's happened to me actually a few
Yeah.
times. Yeah, that's that's true. Okay.
Yeah, and basically last slide. Right. So the RAP, so is like a waste resource. I forgot the acronym, but it's like the UK government's way of engaging with the public and giving information on food waste, especially to households. Um, is Love Food Haste Waste. If you Google Love Food Haste Waste, it will open to this organization, and they have very helpful tips on how you can, as a family or a household, save money. Save food and not waste it. Creative ways. They have recipes as well on how to use your leftovers. And I mean, we want to learn more. This is an inexhaustible session. We can't share all the information just now. If you want to refer to further information, that's the website for you. And at this point, if there are any questions or any helpful tips or suggestions on how we can save food, yeah, I think my thank you is on the next slide.
Okay. We have our lecturer is back here again, Linda.
Yes.
Here are 7 ingenious ways to teach your child not to waste food. Okay. Do menu planning. Linda, you've not answered our question. We need to know what your background is. We'd like to know what your background is, because you're very engaging and
Very
you're
much.
dropping
Yeah.
some interesting and informative points. Here are 7 ingenious ways to teach your child not to waste food. Do menu planning, yeah, together. Yeah, I think that's very important together, so at least they are involved in it.
Yeah.
This is an interesting activity for the entire family, okay? Shop for food as family, touring and labeling. What
Maybe
do you
storing. Maybe
Oh,
storing.
storing and labeling. Okay. Time in the kitchen, recess before meals. What? Can you explain what recess before meals is? Does anybody understand what recess before meal?
I mean,
Like,
recess is like break time,
yeah,
or
like
like
break.
I don't know if maybe
Probably
shares.
gather together because she says time in the kitchen
Okay.
and she's been talking about family time
Family.
together, that kind of bond. So maybe before you just bring the food and it's time to eat, maybe probably. So, Linda, if you could explain more, if you're still there, handling food waste and leftovers, kitchen, okay, garden. All right. Yes. Anyways, we'll wait till more comments come in. I mean, if
Yeah.
more comments come in, we'll show them. But if not, thank you very much, Grace. We really appreciate the time you've put into this, the effort you've put into this, and to
Yeah.
inform, to keep the community informed.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Buki, for spending time with us. Thank you so much, Grace, for
Thank you.
spending time with us as well. And I would like to say a big thank you to the sponsors of today's workshop, the National Lottery Community Fund. We just want to say big thank you to them for always supporting projects like this. And until next time, we'll see you again. Bye. And we have the workshop tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow at 5 o'clock as well, where we'll be talking about other types of waste. I mean, other types of climate change and what we can do to embrace climate change. And we also have a very knowledgeable facilitator who's going to take us tomorrow. So until then, I just want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for your time, and bye bye.